Well, hello, friends. Today is Sunday afternoon. Let's see, it's August the 17th. Wow, time flies when you're having fun. And it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon for UK. It's morning, Sunday morning. So you can think of this as Sunday morning frivolity service, not worshiping, unless you spell it with a WARSHIP. So. One of the questions that was asked today shouldn't take very long, and that is the story of samsara. Now, actually, samsara is kind of like a wheel in the sense that things go around and keep going around and keep going around, but they don't always go around the same. As you'll see my hand, think of it kind of as a spiral. A real good example is the planet Earth. When it turns exactly 360 degrees around, how long does that take? Anybody got a guess? Yes. Dietrich, go ahead. How long does it take for the Earth to go around 365 degrees, one full circle?
24 hours?
Huh?
24
No,
hours?
no.
1 year.
It takes 23 hours and 54 minutes.
Ah.
Why is that? Because while the Earth is turning, it's also moving. So it takes another 4 minutes for the sun to line up the way that it was yesterday, because the Earth is not, let us say, just turning around. It's also in a spiral around the sun. Now, the reason that I'm mentioning that, a little bit of physics for you, is that samsara is like that also. It's not a wheel. In other words, when you go around a full circle around, you're not where you were the last time you went around. Things have changed. But they have the idea that everything is in cycles. An example of that would then be that all forms of government, no matter what names they have, all forms of government are oligarchy. In other words, the wealthy, regardless of what kind of government you call it, can be a communist, can be a socialist, can be a democracy, whatever you want to name that form of government, it's always run by the very wealthy. Isn't that interesting, Alex?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. What can you expect? All right. So, the idea of the samsara is that it is what goes around comes around, but it never comes around the way you expect it to come around.
Mhm.
That in fact, the Buddha has the four imponderables as you do not know the results of actions. You just don't know what you're going to do. For instance, when you buy stock, you don't know whether it's going to go up or down. It'll probably do some of both and wind up being just where it was for a while. So you don't know the outcome of what you're doing. That's also true with human relations. In fact, that's the same thing as on this call. We don't know what people are going to get out of it. All we can do is be mindful of what's happening right now rather than the expectations of when things come around again, what's it going to be like? Because we don't know. So, this whole idea of samsara is not what people mostly think. They think of samsara as a wheel to where once it goes around 360 degrees, the wheel is still exactly where it was before. Except that, what if the wheel is on a cart and the cart is going at 10 miles an hour? Then by the time the wheel rolls around, it's not in the same place it used to be. Everything keeps changing, everything keeps moving. And for that reason, the whole concept of samsara within the context of the teaching of the Buddha is kind of irrelevant. that samsara, in fact, is it's more of a Hindu concept, or we can place it in the regard, as we've talked several times, of it's part of Buddhism, but it's not part of the teaching of the Buddha. That the teaching of the Buddha is direct. In other words, we're not interested in what the wheel is going to be looking like at the next cycle. We want to know what's happening with the wheel right now. That this is really what the practice is all about. So as we move along, we don't go back to the same place that it used to be. Things always are possibly changing. You could even go so far as to say the moon has never been in the same place twice. Why? Because the moon is circling the earth is circling the sun, and the sun is off shooting off someplace in the galaxy. It's also in motion, and the moon never comes back to the same place. It can appear like it does, but actually, not a chance. Nothing is ever going to be the same. Everything is in constant motion, in constant moving. So samsara actually then doesn't fit in with the teaching of the Buddha about anicca. When he says anicca vata sankhara, everything is constantly moving. And it never winds up being exactly the same place that it used to be. How can we use that? Well, we can use that in the sense of, if you want to see what's going on, the only way that you can see what's going on is by seeing what's going on right now. This is the only time that we have. In fact, past and future don't really exist. The past is gone. Not only is the past gone, you don't even have a good memory of it. Not exactly. Not unless you've got a camera out and filming it. But when you're reviewing the video that you took, it's not the same. Example of that is a lot of people come to this island for the sunset. Beautiful, gorgeous sunsets. And so when they're looking at the sunset, what do? Instead of looking at and enjoying the sunset, they get their cameras out, fiddle with the cameras, and take a video of the sunset. Then they take that video camera home and show it off to their friends and say to the friends, I was there at that sunset and it was so gorgeous. Please look at this video. And you look at the video, how gorgeous is that sunset? Not a chance. A video of a sunset is not a sunset.
Yeah.
Just like
And what is the
pornography.
time?
Go ahead. Who's talking?
Yeah, what is the time actually that you are able to see the recording of the past? It's right now also. That is the
Yes,
only
and what
time
you're looking at
available.
is the video right now. You're not looking at the sunset anymore. That's the important point. Now you're not looking at the sunset. Now you're looking at a video. So the real practice of the Buddha is not what we have been talking about as a gradual path. There is some gradual stuff in it, but the real path is immediately. It happens right here, right now. And if we practice being okay right here, right now, then later, when we're around people who are not worth being around, and they're doing stuff that is not worth being around, what are we going to do right then and there? The right thing to do is start to practice again right then, because we don't yet have the skills of being able to put up with other people. This is actually pointing at the reason why we have Sangha. We have Sangha to help remind us so that we can practice in the here now along with people who are practicing in the here now. At one time, a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about guarding the sense doors, and that we talked about it in the sense of video recordings or going down the road in a car and keeping your eye on the road instead of watching all the billboards and all the scenery on the side of the road, because if we're watching the scenery on the side of the road, we'll more than likely not be watching what's happening right in front of us. So you can think of that analogy also is how we live our lives is by watching what's going on around us right here, right now. Now, someone asked recently about wholesome in the sense of wholesome on the outside and wholesome on the inside. And the real reality is that the outside is neither wholesome nor unwholesome. It's actually just real. All the wholesomeness is going to be on the inside. And so this is where the work is done, is on the inside, because the outside is just real. There's no rights, no wrongs, except when people have those opinions. And when you listen to the opinions of others, they'll tell you whether something is right or wrong, but that doesn't mean that they're right or wrong when they say so. That's just an opinion. So what we're doing is we're learning to come out of our opinions and actually into the state of observing, to look at what's going on. And when we see what's going on, we have the option of being able to change what's going on the inside. We can't very much change what's happening on the outside, but we can trust that whatever is really happening on the outside is actually just reality. That's all that there is out there. But what is going on the inside is, are we attuned to the reality that's happening on the inside? And can we adjust that? Because, in fact, if we've got unwholesome thoughts on the inside, then that's not being attuned with the reality on the outside. So, some people have talked about affirmations. And what I would say an affirmation is something like positive thinking. We want the world to look at us or to be in a certain way. That would be an affirmation. And what we're actually practicing here is to getting real, to getting wholesome. We can brighten the mind, gladden the mind, and have a mind that's very happy, because we can deal with whatever reality there is out there. This is the main reason why we want to get away from the world out there, because as long as we're dealing with the world out there, so long as we're not guarding the sense doors and letting all kinds of stuff come in from the outside, that stuff affects us, and probably it'll affect us in whatever way we are trained already to have that affecting us. So if we have somebody yelling at us and telling us that we're ignorant and whatnot like that, then we'll react to that the way that we've always acted to it. We don't like it. And so the right way of looking at it is that when we're practicing, we need to get away from the outside influences, to guard the sense doors, to not allow the world to affect us, to not allow the games on the cell phone or the news or the documentaries that are on the cell phones. That in fact, if we turn the cell phone off, we can now look at what's happening on the inside of the mind and just be easygoing, restful. Everything is all right, just the way that it is. So when we are around other people, it's really good then to guard those sense doors, to not be around people who are, let us say, ordinary people who are not guarding their own sense doors. So we don't really have to be in a Wat, but it certainly would be valuable if we were around noble people who were noble-minded, who were in the moment and living their lives in the present moment in reality. This is one of the reasons why we've started this Sangha on Discord, is to make it available worldwide. And from what I've gotten from Ivan just recently, that the number of people on the group calls is increasing. Is that true, Ivan? You're on the group calls often.
Seems like it.
Mm-hmm. So,
Dhammarato.
yes, go ahead, Dietrich.
Yeah. So about people who are not guarding their senses doors, as you say, it's like right. Is as we do that practicing, is that what you call taking refuge in the Buddha?
Well, in the regard to what we're talking about here, it would be taking refuge in the Sangha, taking refuge in the other like-minded people who you'll find here on the internet and perhaps other places. I don't know, for instance, any of the Watts that are having calls like this, but I do know that there's a Meiji at Wat Suan Mok who is doing Zoom calls, and that would be a good, healthy way of spending someone's time. Christina has mentioned that, and Dietrich in our ladies group, you can look that information up.
I saw it.
All right, so what we're looking at then is to get away from it all, to get into seclusion. Now, the Buddha talked about seclusion in the following way in Sutta number 36, and that is the story of the log in the bog. That when a log, a tree log, is in the swamp and it's waterlogged, it can't be set on fire. If you take the log out of the bog and put it on the shore, at that particular point in time, it still cannot be set on fire. It needs to stay out of the bog for a while so that gravity will pull the water down and the sun will bake the top of it, so that even though the water is not completely out of the log yet, at least you can set the top of the log on fire. And so this is why we would say to stay away from the outside world, to go to be alone. That's where we practice. Now, it doesn't matter what kind of posture that you have or what kind of room that you're in, just to walk in nature and being in the present moment is what we're talking about here. This is what the Buddha really taught. He taught not meditation. You've seen so many people looking at Buddhist meditations, and some people get downright miserable. But the real practice of the teaching of the Buddha is, if you catch it correctly, that you're going to have very quick or immediate results. And every time you practice, you'll be glad that you're practicing because you're getting the immediate results right then and there. But most people grab the Dhamma from the wrong end, like the simile of the snake. If you grab a snake by the wrong end, it's going to bite you. And most of the people who have practiced mindfulness meditation or Mahasi method or whatever like that, they get bitten really badly. They get more miserable, not happy, not immediately. But the teaching of the Buddha, as you all heard, is good in the beginning, good in the middle, and good in the end. So the first time you sit down for meditation, if you're in seclusion, not in the normal environment, not at the bus station or the police station or in a hospital waiting room, but in fact you're alone, then you can begin to get immediate results by gladdening the mind, brightening the mind, saying, wow, I'm really glad to be away from the maddening crowd. Just being alone is better than being in the crowd. And we can appreciate that. Well, I'm glad I'm not in that mess anymore, not right now. So once we begin to practice, we can see then that when we do deal with people, it's better to deal with people who are already in that mind state. And so one of the things that you can do would be to go to the Wat. Now, not all Watts are, let us say, in that realm. But those that are practicing correctly, and I would say that if you go to a Wat, your chances of being in a wholesome environment is astronomically better than if you go to the cinema or to the bar. So going to any Wat is going to be better than going to a bar. Going to any Wat at all, but even there are some Wats that are better than others. When I was traveling around as a monk in the United States, I used the name dropping of Bhikkhu Buddhadasa. If anybody had known Bhikkhu Buddhadasa, had heard his name, then I felt that was a pretty good Wat to be in, especially if they were fans of Bhikkhu Buddhadasa. But I have also found out that there are many monks who are also nobly minded that have never heard of Bhikkhu Buddhadasa. I was actually quite surprised to find that in the Lao Wats, that in fact I would go so far as to say the Lao Wats that I saw in the U.S. were more spiritual, more inclined to correct practice than the Thai Wats. I know I can get some flack for that, but that was what I found. And so the Lao Wats that you'll find, and there's about maybe 50 or 60 Wats in the U.S. Laotian, altogether about 500. But you will find nobly minded people more likely in the Wat, or you can work with a community. Now, one of the problems of the other kind of places, an example would be a dojo. A Zendo more than likely is not started by a Japanese master Zen practitioner. That more than likely it's some middle-aged Jewish man who has started the Zendo. And I would not recommend those kind of places. The same thing would be true about the Tibetan. If there are actual Tibetan monks that are at that Tibetan temple, then you've got a chance. But if it's Westerners who have started a temple, I wouldn't go there. That in fact, what I would say is that in the Thai tradition, a monk cannot become an abbot of a Wat until he's been a monk for 20 years. 20 years is generally enough time for him to have actually gotten introduced to the Dhamma and has begun practice. So all of these Zendos and all of these meditation centers and whatnot generally don't have people who are doing that. Not only that, but it's very common for a Westerner to say, "Oh, I want to teach the Dhamma. I like it very much, but I need to eat." So I can combine the two of them by starting a retreat center. But now that same guy that started a retreat center, he's not a Dhamma teacher. He's a retreat center manager. He's also dealing with the banks and construction companies and food delivery services and all of that kind of stuff. And he is not actually practicing the Dhamma often. He's much more of a businessman. For this reason, I would recommend to give meditation retreat centers a miss, because they're more than likely do not have elderly, seasoned Dhamma dudes there. But if you also know that that here we have people who are only been in the Dhamma for a few years, but the point is that they're actually come in to the Dhamma. And in fact, right here on this group, we have some that I would trust any new student to go spend time with. For instance, with Mikey, with Timo, with Ivan, with Alex. Any of those guys have been around the Dhamma long enough that they'll give you Dhamma even when you want their crap. They won't give you the kind of crap that ordinary people will give you. They'll be giving you Dhamma. And that's why I would recommend that you do the calls here, is because then you're going to be guarding the mind door, guarding the eye door by only dealing with wholesome people. Because if somebody that's on that call brings up a pile of shit, the Dhamma dude is going to stop that. He's going to put it back straight again. Ivan and I have had several conversations about that. We have the metaphor of the Zen stick. And in fact, Alex has been using the Zen stick to keep these guys on track. Let's talk Dhamma when we're on the Discord groups. We're not going to be talking about just any old thing. That we're going to be guarding the eye door, guarding the mind door and the speech door, so that we're actually talking about Dhamma, especially in regard to that you can feel good and be free from your dukkha right here, right now. That this is the real teaching of the Buddha, is to get over it right here, right now. And we practice that over and over again. Now, I'll bring up a concept that I call the 3 P's: practice, performance, and play. And what we're really looking for is to become playful moment by moment, whatever you're doing. Treat it as non-serious. Nothing is important. Everything is joy. Everything is just another cosmic joke, and you're the punchline, so long as there's a you there. But to get there, we need to practice, just like in music. If somebody learns to play the piano, he doesn't learn to play the piano for a long time, but he learns to practice the piano. And we practice that music over and over and over again. And pretty soon, if we're practicing correctly, we begin to like it. Well, this practice that we're doing here is much easier than learning how to play the piano. And so you can get immediate benefits. How is that? Is by looking at the unwholesome, unuseful, unvaluable thoughts that we have right here, right now, and change them into wholesome, happy, good enough thoughts. Everything is all right. Everything is fine. We can actually gladden the mind by talking ourselves into it. As I've said before, everybody has spent many, many years talking yourselves into feeling bad. Now it's time to talk yourself into feeling good. And if you can talk yourself into feeling good, you can talk yourself basically into anything, including that you don't have to talk to yourself anymore. You can just enjoy, you can just play. So then there is the time when we need to perform. We need to do what's expected of us, and we have to kind of work at it. I've seen an example would be a recital. When the students of a particular teacher, she'll have a recital, and all the parents and aunts and uncles and maybe another teacher or two and some friends will go to the recital. When the student is playing the music in the recital, he's not playing at it at all. He's working. He's got to make sure every note is correct. It takes many years for a pianist to actually play music. That for most of the time they're practicing, and then for a number of years they're performing. But eventually they begin to play the piano. What does I mean by play? That means they get a big kick out of it. A really good example, if you've ever seen him, would be, what's his name? Victor Borg. How many of you know Victor Borg? Have you ever seen him give a piano performance? Not a chance. He's too busy playing the piano and playing with the audience. Okay, so this is what we mean, is learn to play with your life. But we need to have some skills built up. And how we get those skills is by practicing the Dhamma. Practice becoming playful. And then perform being playful when you're out there dealing with all of those other people who are not practicing the Dhamma or performing it. The whole world, in fact, you could say that of all the people that you probably know right now, fewer than 5% of them are actually Dhamma people. Most of the people you know are ordinary people with ordinary problems, ordinary suffering, and that you have actually many of them are in some religion or another who thinks that there is value in suffering, with the idea that, oh, if you suffer enough, then you can get forgiveness. I use the example of the word sorry. How many of you have said the word sorry today? Oh, I'm sorry that I did that. How many of you use that word? I haven't used it in a long time without making a big point out of it because I'm not sorry. I may apologize, but my apologies are playful. I'm not sorry. Don't be sorry for what you do wrong. Be playful with what you do wrong. But if you're sorry, that means that we are not practicing correctly. And what we can do instead is change. So if somebody starts talking some crap on the Discord here, in fact, Alex, just today we were talking about this, and somebody was putting out some crap, and we called him on it. Whack goes that Zen stick. This is foolish talk. This is silly talk. We don't talk like that. We'll delete your post if you talk like that here on Discord. And the guy, he deletes all of his posts that were silly. And then he said, sorry. Well, I hope he's not sorry, because when we're sorry, that means that we feel bad. I'm not interested in anybody feeling bad and being sorry. What I'm interested in is people becoming happy. And so he's posting a bunch of crap. And when he says, I'm sorry, I posted a bunch of crap, that's just more crap. Don't be sorry. Be happy. Well, I'm glad I don't have to post that crap anymore. I can be mindful. I can watch what I'm doing. I can change it. And so this is the way that we practice. And we practice that with noble friends, because he can post a bunch of crap over on some other Discord, and he'll get people to agree with him. And now you've got a whole bunch of people having a pity party on Discord. Let's not do that. Let's have happy thoughts with happy, wholesome language on our groups, so that everybody who joins on our Discord groups gains the benefit as if they were actually practicing right then and there in a wat that had noble monks there. So we don't really need to be in a temple, but you're surely a whole lot better off if you are in a temple. And the second best thing to do is to be on a Discord group where people are practicing the Dhamma correctly. This is what Sangha is all about. Sangha is actually to, when you're around somebody who is spewing a bunch of garbage, you need to perform your Zen stick. Whack. You don't talk like that here. We're going to have good, happy, wholesome language on this Discord group. And that's helping each other. And that from what Ivan, and actually I've seen some of it, that we have a number of calls, Discord. In fact, this is actually quite a busy Discord group. We've got nearly 700 people in it, and more than 50 people are online at any particular point in time. So there's always somebody there. The reason you don't see them is because we're all just reading what somebody else is writing. But if we find something interesting, we might chime in. But this is something that I can say that we need to really work on, is that issue of practicing. So you practice alone. Remember to keep your mind wholesome. If you want to use that language, keep your mind holy. Keep it spiritual. Keep it light. We talk about heaven. Well, heaven is in the sky, and the sky is light. If you're heavy, you can't fly. I have heard that the reason that angels can fly is because they take themselves so lightly. If you begin to take yourself so lightly, you can fly too. Don't mean that you come right out of your chair, but you know what I'm talking about. We have that light, happy mentality, and everything is cool. This is what the Buddha taught. He did not teach any airy-fairy magic. He did not tell a story about gods in heaven or rebirth and reincarnation and heavens and hells and any of that kind of stuff. What he taught was you can put your mind into whatever state you want to be in by practicing when you're away from all of the crap of the world. So, does anybody have any comments? Ivan, let me hear it from you.
Nothing to say. Nothing to say.
How
Really
about you,
enjoy.
Mac? Do you have something to say?
Can't hear you.
Dhammarato, can I say something? If
Let me give Mac a chance. He's about to, and then you
oh,
can too. So, Mac, go ahead. I'm listening.
I think the voice setting there has a problem. Like, can't hear you.
Yeah, Mac's mic is unmuted, but for some reason we still cannot hear you, Mac.
All right, who was wanting to talk?
Dhammarato, I want to say
Go ahead.
how to apologize without feeling sorry, without feeling bad.
Well, that was a bunch of crap. Let's not do that.
Oh yeah, okay. But I feel, I feel like if I don't really feel sorry, then I'm not apologizing. Because if someone need to apologize to me and he's laughing at my face, and I cannot take his apology seriously.
Guess what? I would not ever take any apology seriously. That I think in our culture, apologies are highly, highly overrated. Actually, if there's anything to an apology, the only real valuable thing out of an apology would be that someone recognizes that what they just did or have done in the past was offensive and didn't work, didn't have its intended quality. That's all there is, but we don't really need an apology, especially the kind that says, I'm sorry. So, the example of the guy today, when he deleted his videos, he could say, I see what you mean, and I deleted those videos. And that's all he had to say. He didn't have to say he was sorry. So it depends upon the context, but there is absolutely no reason to say you're sorry, especially when you're not. Isn't that kind of a lie? But it's expected in our society. Actually, I'll go one point further. In the Thai language, we got some Thai people here. Mikey
Yeah,
may
Blink
know
is,
this. Pardon?
Blink is from.
All
Yeah.
right. Please explain to us what the word katut means.
Oh, ขอโทษ
Uh-huh.
Yeah, sorry. So like beg
Sorry.
them for some like โทษ means like harm.
Uh-huh.
But โทษ is like โทษ has a bad meaning and ขอ means beg. So we're begging for something like some sort of punishment.
Yes, exactly. Isn't it exactly in the Thai language the same thing as saying, please beat my ass? Wouldn't you say that's what katut means? It means please harm me, please beat my ass. Now, in the Western language, we use the word sorry because we're wanting forgiveness, because forgiveness is a big deal in the West. It comes out of Christianity. It's like you could go and harm and do all that you want to do, but if you're sorry and you ask for forgiveness, then God's going to forgive you and let you into heaven. But we don't do any of that kind of stuff in the Dhamma, so there's no reason to feel bad over wrongdoing. That we can learn and make changes without feeling good. In fact, we could be very happy. Oh, yeah, I'm glad that I don't use that language now. Thank you for pointing that out to me, that I'm not going to use that kind of language. That's unwholesome language to use with Dhamma students here on the Sangha. So I'm not going to use words like that. Mostly referencing sex. Because there's no reason to talk about it. Because there's no value in it. Except that in the West, we've been trained that sex is the highest good. I had a talk a few months back about sunam bunam, the highest good. All right. The highest good then would be to recognize that we've done wrong and be very happy that we can see that we've done wrong, because if we can see happily that we've done wrong, we can change it. But if we are sorry for what we've done wrong, we try to hide from it. We don't want to see it. So we're less likely to be able to change when we're sorry than we are if we are happy that we can see the wrongdoing. This is actually correct practice. The Buddha, one point, a lot of people think that an arahat or a Buddha is a perfect being, never has any unwholesome thoughts at all. And that's not true, as we can see in a number of suttas, especially the section in the Samyutta Nikaya that's devoted to what is called Mara, or the Buddhist devil. And the way that the Buddha handles unwholesome thoughts is by the phrase, the happy phrase, I see you, Mara. And so whenever you have an unwholesome thought, and you can see that that's an unwholesome thought, don't say, oh no, I shouldn't have unwholesome thoughts. Oh, poor me, I'm not doing the Dhamma correctly. Oh no, now you've committed two sins. The first one is the unwholesome thought, and then the second one is the bigger unwholesome thought about having an unwholesome thought. The right way to do it is, aha, I see that I just screwed up. Be happy that you can see that you screwed up, because only then do you have a happy, positive way of changing the screw up.
Dhammarato,
Yes, go ahead, Dietrich.
it feels more like it has to do with responsibility, like to say, it's my responsibility. I did this. No excuses. I'm not going to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that.
That
Right?
I'm not going to do it again, or better stated, I'm going to watch out to not do that again. Because
Yeah.
we can't say permanently, I'll never do that again. We don't know what the future is going to be. But you can say, I am going to now be mindful that I don't do that.
Yeah. But what do you feel about the word responsibility in
Well,
this?
let us say the word responsibility has to mean the ability to respond, and in this case, the ability to respond wholesomely, to where reaction is what we normally do, and saying sorry is a reaction. What do I mean by reaction? It means that we've acted that way before and we're just acting that way again. And a reaction is always not as, let us say, mindful. It's not as, it doesn't have any Dhamma with it. But you can, in fact, use the word responsible if the response is wholesome. Otherwise, we're just reacting in an unwholesome way. And this is really good to practice that and perform that on the internet, on our Dhamma groups, or when you're at the Wat, so that you can learn then to be playful all the time. because nothing really is that important. Yeah, so what if I screwed up? I've screwed up before. I'm still here. I made that one out alive. Wow, I'm really glad, in fact, that I did all of that screwing up, because that helps me to be as happy and wholesome as I am right now. So be grateful, have gratitude that all of those screw ups that you've done has helped you to become happy. And now you can share your joy with others. So you mentioned, Dietrich, before about suffering, that some groups have the idea that you've got to suffer, you've got to hit rock bottom, in fact, before you can change. This is actually something that is well known in Alcoholics Anonymous. For many, many years, judges who would have to deal with alcoholics when they came to court, by assigning them, you've got to go to AA, or other people, you've got to go to therapy. Well, in the example of AA, if somebody is going to therapy or going to AA because they've been told that they've got to go, they're not going to get any value out of it. In fact, they're going to resent their time there. So you have to actually be able to see or recognize your dukkha. That does not mean that you have to become overwhelmed with dukkha for many, many long periods of time before you want out of it. See the little dukkha and see, hey, I want out of that too. You don't have to have great big suffering. Now, sometimes that's true about, in fact, is Sheep here on the group? I don't see him now. He was here earlier. He's got an alcoholic dad, and the dad has not seen the danger in the alcohol. That's true about the AA. A lot of drunks do not see the danger. But if you can see the danger, if you can see whatever dangers that you have, that's when you can do something about it. But if you see the danger, oh, poor me, I'm an alcoholic, oh, I shouldn't drink, and then I take a next drink because I feel sorry for myself because I'm a drunk. I'm a lush, they call it. The game of lush is drinking more to feel sorry for yourself because you drink too much. But there is no real insight, no wisdom in that. But if the lush can say, hey, wait a minute, I have drunk enough, I have harmed myself enough, let me stop drinking. Well, if you think about it, we're all Dukkaholics. We are all attached to our suffering. We think that we're going to get some benefit out of it. That's why we say sorry, to apologize, is we want somebody else to forgive us so that we don't have to take that responsibility, Dietrich. Taking the responsibility means that we can see the dukkha and say, I'm out of that. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to do my best to watch what I'm doing and stop doing that. This is correct practice. And it's not at all needed or necessary for one to be sorry. What we need is to be able to see clearly and change. The Buddhist model is a change model. Can you see the unwholesome thought and change it to a wholesome thought? Can you see the unwholesome behavior and change it to wholesome behavior? Can you do that well enough to where you can actually do it playfully? Yeah, I screwed that up. I'm going to watch for that one. That would be playful. Oh, poor me. I shouldn't do that. That's a terrible thing. I'm truly sorry. That's not wholesome. So, Timo, do you have something to say? You were
Can't
on
hear
for a
you.
minute. Turn your mic back on, Timo.
Can't hear you still.
Oh, You can't hear me? You've been on this call this whole hour, and you haven't heard me? Okay. CB, what are you doing up so late, Christina?
Good morning.
Good morning is right.
It looks like I joined at an interesting topic, but I think I got the good part out of it.
How about you, Baked Potato? Do you have something to say? How about you, Jose? Are you there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you, whoever's talking.
Okay, it's Mac.
Mac, hi, Mac. I can hear you now.
Okay, hello. I fiddle with the mic here, so I find it interesting this that you say about dukkha and people being dukkaholics. I work in a place where I find it increasingly difficult to be, as it seems like a badge of honor to be stressed and be behind in your work and be unsatisfied with
Yeah, that
the
means you
work
work
that you
really
do.
hard and the boss is going to give you a raise. So you have to really work hard. Not
I,
necessarily be happily productive, just work hard.
exactly, and I've felt it that um, I've been unselected from doing certain tasks that I actually wanted to do here at my job because people think that because I seem content and unstressed in the situation that I do absolutely nothing. And this is sort of starting to bother me, and also that I'm becoming sort of excluded from the company of my coworkers because I won't take
Isn't
part
that
in the
marvelous that you don't have to put up with their crap?
exactly. It does sort of give me I teach and I enjoy the being with the young people that I teach very much, but you know we teach as a group of teachers and I find it difficult to find someone to work with. Um, so I find it interesting this the Dukkhaholism that you say.
All right. Well, just because others suffer doesn't mean that you need to suffer. But it's hard, especially for the beginners, to be around people who are suffering, to not suffer along with them because they expect you to suffer as much as they do. Misery loves company. When
Yeah.
people are angry, they want other people to be angry too. When people are miserable, they want people to be miserable. It's only here in places like this Sangha is where you'll find people who are expecting you to be happy.
It's working very well, thank you.
Ah. So, Jose, did you hear my call? Can you turn your mic on and let us have it? How about you, Michael Swift? Are you there?
I'm here, Dhammarato. Thank you. No, this was a wonderful talk. I can recognize what you said about the Dukkaholics. As you know, I'm in recovery, and that's something that I stay away from in some of the 12-step meetings because it seems like people have put the substances down, but they still got the dukkha. So that's a big part of what's brought me to the teachings of the Buddha path. So good to be here. Thank you, Dhammarato.
Excellent. So, if you become a mentor then in AA, you can mentor them to come not only out of their alcohol, but out of all of their misery.
That's right.
Yeah. So, we got some new people on. How about you, Z? Do you have something to say? There you go. Hello and welcome, Z. What do you have to say? I hear your microphone clicking. How about you, Giannis? You got your microphone on already. What do you have to say?
Yeah, I wanted to say that this is something that I've been thinking a lot because of being a Dukkaholic, because there seems to be a benefit to, self-flagellation, basically. Like, if you're sorry and you're like playing the victim, other people won't want to hurt you. At least that's how it seems. But then, like, you're just kind of hurting yourself. And yeah, like also the coworker story. If you are at the job and you act as if you're struggling and like you're working really hard, then like the boss is gonna notice that. So there seems that like the dukkha and the hindrances, they always tell me like, oh, you need me, like I've protected you. Like if you feel bad, others won't try to hurt you. Is what I've noticed.
Yes, that everybody wants you to be miserable. So once they've gotten you miserable, they'll just go to the guy who can do next. In fact, I have heard the story of that there was a group of people, Christians, who were out proselytizing, and they came up to this guy and started talking their shtick about proselytizing, and he says, "Oh, well, I'm in seminary right now, studying to become a preacher." And they, without even saying a word, just walked away. They don't want to talk to him. He's already part of the group. Same thing. I mean, misery really loves company. They want you to be part of their misery group. And once they've gotten you miserable, they don't need you anymore. They'll go get somebody else to pick on. So, Red, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I do. I do follow. Actually, I co-host meditation sessions, and I try to channel the wholesome stuff. Krishni also does participate in those calls too. I heard you, and I heard you talking about the Dukkaholics, and I also participate in a support group, and I see what you're trying to say about the AA stuff, the Alcoholics Anonymous, and yeah, just allowing people to trying to find a tongue, even if they don't accept it directly, trying to find a tongue-in-cheek way to make it positive and make it give them a wholesome path to get out of the suffering that they have in those support groups also. Like, yeah, I would love to hear you commenting on that too.
Well, I'll say one thing about the word positive, and that is that often positivity is not what we need. We do not need the power of positive thinking. We need to think in reality. And the reality is actually a paradise. We already live in paradise. That's the reality of the situation. We don't have to take a hell and try to positivity it into a paradise. We're already in paradise. And so I don't use the word positive or positivity. What we use instead is the word wholesome, which has a whole lot closer connotation to being real. Everything is real enough.
It's real enough, it's good enough, it's wholesome enough, and we just relaying that to more people. Allow more people to see the wholesome stuff from life, and we giving okay, did you try this to not not put yourself into more misery that you already are? And okay, maybe just doing X instead of Y, and then just allowing that to see more of reality and to just allow suffering to go as much as possible.
Well, it's not a matter of allowing it to go. It's a matter of taking active duty to take an active role
Mhm.
of right noble effort to kick that stuff out. To keep kicking it out and keep kicking it out and keep kicking it out.
Okay, yeah. So it's
It's not
double duty, basically.
right. It's not a matter of letting go. It's a matter of flicking it off to get rid of it, throw it out,
Yeah.
because that stuff is really sticky. The example would be, let me
Don't.
see if I can.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, here we go. You see this in my hand? It's actually a hub, but I let go of
Mhm.
it. Why is it still in my hand? Why is it in my hand? I let
Ah.
go of it. Why doesn't it float off? It's not going to. I have to actually actively put it down.
Yeah, without holding it.
Mhm.
Yes, double
Okay, well,
duty, basically.
thanks for sharing. So let me get somebody else. How about you, Robert? You're new on the group here. What do you have to say?
Well, is my mic on? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Yes.
you, Robert.
I liked what you said about apologizing. Something that Max said made me think of what we talked about a little while ago or a couple days ago about balancing the normal life and with Dhamma. So what he at work, balancing work life with Dhamma, and I think that's what helps with being a monk. You don't have to balance all of the unwholesome stuff with the wholesome.
Right. When you're at work, you're going to be around an awful lot of unwholesome people. If you're at the right Wat, you're going to be around an awful lot of people who are wholesome almost all the time.
Mm. And something else I wanted to ask about was seclusion. You mentioned seclusion, and some people that I've talked to on the group, they don't really have semi-formal like meditation sits. They just drop it immediately. And I know it's a thing of you can drop it immediately and go straight to the wholesome. But I assume that for because I've also seen videos by you where you said that it's good to do like a short formal, semi-formal anapanasati sit where you get you're in seclusion, and in seclusion you get yourself into a good state. I assume that's because then later you can do it immediately, or you can do it immediately already, but for beginners it's good to practice in seclusion, I assume.
Yes, it is very good to practice in seclusion. Just like it's very good to practice if you're a new student of a piano to be in a room by yourself. You do not want your mom changing the pages nor having Aunt Susie sit there and listen to you practice. You want to do that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
so we want to do this practice alone so that we can begin to see what our own mind is doing rather than all the noise.
Mm. And then when you
And the more
practice, you
time,
can start.
yeah, and I would recommend to spend a lot of time in seclusion.
Sorry.
The more time that you spend in seclusion is the less time that you have to put up with all the crap that you've got to put up with from
Mm.
other people, including the stuff that you remember and repeat that you got from other people.
Mm.
To take some time and get away from other people. Don't get away from it all, just get into seclusion. Close the door behind you and being in an empty room. That's what the Buddha recommends. He does not recommend going on retreats. Because if you're on a retreat, you're around, what, 100 people pretending to be in noble silence? All right, so let's see. How about you, Puban? Do you have something to say?
he's sleeping.
No, he was awake.
Oh,
He's smiling now, so I know he's awake. He must be trying to find the place to click to get his mic going. It should be in the bottom middle of the screen. There you go.
Oh, so we were talking about me. That you said
I'm
somebody
sorry I
else.
didn't hear you. Go ahead.
So you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you, Dhammarato. I enjoy your talk, and I was reflecting upon this analogy between alcoholism and Dukkhaholism. Alcoholism, I'm just thinking like probably not drawn to alcohol because of the alcohol, because some people drinking don't have a problem. It's probably the relief and the fact that it's drunk. So then I'm just thinking regarding dukkha. Um, let's say I'm lying to somebody, and it's I started thinking probably it's also because I'm drawn into getting some relief from the fact I'm lying to somebody, and so that might be just the fact to cover something I don't want others to see in me, or yeah, I'm just kind of reflecting that way, just trying to see um, to the bottom of this analogy, kind of.
You could say that anything that's mind altering is more like a scab removal. That if you drink or you take drugs, then that's just ripping the scab off so you can get down to what's really there. That's why you find so many bar fights. Most fights happen either in a bar or when somebody's come home from a bar. But that's also why it's so violent out on the streets where they're taking fentanyl or today's popular whatever it is people really feel bad. They don't feel better when they're drunk. That's why they get angry and fighting and whatnot like that. But they are kind of unaware of how bad they do feel because of the buzz. So, Alex,
Right.
what are you
Thank you.
thinking, friend?
No, I like that we talked about seclusion, and I really liked that you mentioned not suffering alongside other people. I know that was something that we talked about this morning in the group call that we had as well, and I like to point that out because that word compassion that everyone uses has that meaning with it, that meaning of suffering alongside someone.
It's passion,
Yeah.
compact.
Mm-hmm.
Can you
Yep.
be
Yeah.
compassionate, be
Suffer with
completely
me.
happy? That's the way to be compassionate is by not
Mm-hmm.
falling into their trap.
Yeah. I like that you pointed that out. I appreciated that. I'm glad that we came back to talking about seclusion again too.
All right. So, Ivan, what do you have to say?
yeah, really. I was laughing when you said the word Dukkaholic just now, and yeah, it's really true. It's almost like when you practice, or at least when I practice more and more, it seems more and more obvious. Like, I mean, it's always there, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe I justify or whatever, I don't see it, but it's becoming more and more clearer how quick the world can just pull you in and you know they want you to be miserable or something like that. It's really funny. Yeah, it's really funny. You have a laugh about it sometime, but yeah.
They talk about like raining on your parade. Well, if people have got a whole lot of dukkha, wow, they're ready to put it in their water gun and just spray you with their dukkha. So this is part of the reason why, especially in the beginning, but throughout your entire practice, practice in seclusion. Get yourself into a really, really good state when you're alone. So, Ben, what do you have to say?
Great talk. Thanks, Dhammarato. Yeah, no questions, but yeah, misery loves company, but happiness is contagious, so we can spread it to others.
Yes, it is. All right. Jose, are you on yet? You here yet? Karwan, do you have any last things to say?
Dhammarato, I have always something to say, Dhammarato, basically, dukkha is anything that feels heavy. It does not matter whether we call it compassion or anything else. As long as it feels heavy, we can drop it and say, okay, this is dukkha. Correct?
If something is important, doesn't that mean that it's heavy? That's why we get away. You'll not hear me generally say it's important to be in seclusion. That's adding heaviness to it. No, it's delightful to be in seclusion. It is a great fruit, a great benefit to be in seclusion. You don't have to listen to any of that crap.
Yeah. So to not
Paul.
even make. Yeah.
What was that, Kawan? So, Paul, are you here?
Yes. Just wanted to say that the Sangha is a excellent way to forget our Dukkhaholism and be reminded of the practice and be in the wholesome. It's quite joyful, sharing time with the Sangha. And yeah, it's mostly us reminding each other to practice correctly with few jokes thrown around. Thank you so much.
So, does anybody else have anything to say? I'm all. I got you. Do you have something to say?
Hello, hi, Dhammarato. Thank you so much for the reminder to practice in seclusion. Also, I really liked the talk about that feeling sorry is a form of feeling bad, and it's hindrance to being able to make the change. So there's no need to feel sorry. We can just pay attention to what is happening and make the change.
Yes, that's good.
Thank you.
Yes, all right. So, does anybody have any final things to say?
Thanks, everybody.
All
Yes, I
right.
would.
So, Mikey, take it home.
Yeah, thanks, friends, for joining these calls. It's a delightful reminder, regardless of where you are in your practice. It's such a joy to chat and listen to the noble Buddha Dhamma. So yeah, continue hanging out here. For those of you that joined late, you can stay on and keep chatting. It's okay. This is an excellent place to make friends. And yeah, as Dhammarato mentioned earlier in the call, we've been seeing about 50 people or so online at any given. So, if you're feeling like talking the Dhamma, you can just hang out in the Hangout channel and see who else shows up. Kind of get an impromptu call going. We enjoy seeing that. So yeah, thank you again, friends, for being here today. And yeah, this has been quite a splendid call. And yeah, take care. Enjoy. Take it easy.
Yes, if you
Happy.
want to just stay online, we'll go ahead and finish the call formally and turn the video recorder off now. So glad you're here, but you don't have to go. You can just hang out and talk with each other.
Yeah.
So bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you,
See ya.
Dhammarato.
Thank you, Dhammarato. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, friends.